Welcome back to the Always Bayern Chelsea podcast. This is a video episode of the Always Bayern Chelsea show, so head over to YouTube, like and subscribe as always to watch on video, or if you just feel like listening in the background, go to Apple, Spotify, Google, whatever else holds podcasts these days. But let's not forget, even though this video is mostly talking about Chelsea against Liverpool on Sunday, Bayern also plays this weekend a big Bundesliga match against Stuttgart. 11:30 a.m. Central Time here in Milwaukee on Saturday. So make sure to catch that one as well. I'm sitting here on this lovely couch with Ryan Stofield, a Liverpool fan. And today we're talking about Chelsea because Chelsea's next match is this Sunday at Anfield against the mighty Liverpool, who sit top of the Premier League table. Ryan, welcome on the pod.
Thanks for having me. Should be a good one.
So we've been friends for a few years now. We worked together. You actually introduced me to the Premier League because I was looking to get involved, saw that you were a big fan. Tell our listeners why you became a fan of soccer, Premier League, and then Liverpool specifically.
Yeah, it's a pretty basic answer. FIFA 12, the best video game of all time. Started playing with Liverpool back then with all my high school friends, and at that stage I was in middle school, but FIFA was a big part of my middle school and high school ages and through college as well. And then in the U.S., we've just had a great expansion of Premier League with NBCSN getting the deal, I think, in 2013. That just made watching the sport so much easier. And, yeah, that's that.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, a lot of people I know were fans because of FIFA. I can think of a few friends specifically that, one in specific that's a disgusting Man City fan that was a big FIFA guy. So
I think I know what you're talking about there.
And unfortunately, he's just a god at FIFA and destroys me. I play as City, and he'll be some scrub Irish league team and still beat me 10-0. I agree. Premier League, what I've seen the last few years, becoming a fan, the access that we have in America, most say that it's a lot better than even the fans that are in England.
Every time I'm over there, that's one of the things that I bring up, just how easy we have it here and how cheap it is too.
Yeah, I mean, the access with NBC, Peacock, Paramount Plus for some of the European leagues and things like that. And now they're adding more with the lower tier games. I mean, I can watch Wrexham every single week, and I guarantee those in England can't do that, which is insane to say. So certainly awesome that it's becoming big here in America. And now that we're talking about America, a little off the road here, but quick thoughts on Pochettino for USA?
I mean, he's not Klopp. That's who I wanted. I'm not a big international fan. Quick disclaimer there, but I mean, we're gonna have the best U.S. team we've probably ever had coming into the 26 World Cup at home. If they don't make it to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, part of the knockout phases, I'd be disappointed.
I agree. A lot of expectations for that team. Golden generation, as they say, so guys like Pulisic will have a lot of pressure, Poch included, so we'll be interested to watch that. But as we think about Liverpool, Chelsea coming up on Sunday, I wanted to see if you had any memories specifically of prior games where Liverpool played Chelsea and even Bayern Munich, as we are a Bayern pod as well.
We'll start with Chelsea. I can remember one vividly. I was watching the 2022 Carabao Cup final at a fellow member of our EPL pool, Mike's house in Florida. When Kepa skied that PK, my friend Jake jumped into the pool to celebrate. He's not even a Liverpool fan. Interesting enough, we'll see Kelleher against Chelsea again.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see, with Alisson out, and we'll get to that a little bit later here. But, yeah, that was right before my time becoming a Chelsea fan. I've seen the highlight of that PK by Kepa, who...
Feel bad for the fan it hit.
Yeah, and it's funny because ever since I found out about that moment, and you always joke, like, oh, feel bad for the fan that it hit, I use that now every time I see that. Specifically Raheem Sterling skying free kicks and wayward shots. Mudryk, unfortunately, does it quite often as well. So what about a game against Bayern?
Bayern, I mean, was doing some research today before the pod. We've only played 4 times, both in Champions League ties or draws, but definitely the 2019 Liverpool run to get back to the Champions League final. They went through Bayern, drew at home at Anfield, and then beat Bayern 3-1 at the Allianz. So that was definitely the highlight there.
Yeah, that could certainly happen this season. Bayern's looking to make a big run in the Champions League. Liverpool are in great form right now, so you never know if they could meet up again this year in the Champions League. And speaking of that great form for Liverpool, it's been interesting because Klopp leaves, which I'm sure you were sad, but
Devastated.
a time for everything. Things come to an end. But they bring on Arne Slot, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and it's been a great start for them so far. Thoughts on the transition from Klopp to Slot?
I think he was a good pick solely because he's keeping a lot of Klopp's style, but playing a little more reserved. They're not going to be moving up the field as quickly as they used to. Gravenberch and McAllister are both playing a little more defensive midfield roles compared to where Klopp would have kind of two midfielders up there. So you're seeing, we've given up 2 goals in the Premier League, tons of clean sheets. Both the games they conceded were just 1-goal games. So I really like him. We haven't played anyone yet. United's trash. They're terrible.
Fair.
Got a very tough fixture schedule, so we'll see what they are made of. But no complaints about them so far.
Yeah, I thought when I saw the transition, it was a lot easier. They're more established than Chelsea certainly right now. But even manager to manager, it was a smoother transition style-wise. Chelsea going from Poch to Maresca. And even when you throw in, back to Tuchel and, to Potter, to Poch, it's like you have all these different styles, players coming in. Where Liverpool, they've been a lot more consistent the last however many years with their key guys they've had. They're more experienced, so it's not surprising in my opinion that it's been easier for them. Obviously, you mentioned they maybe haven't played as many great teams, but I think they got a solid chance of certainly finishing top 3.
Yeah, I would agree, and it definitely helps Slot. He did not have the financial backing from Fenway Sports Group to go out and make splashes in the transfer window, and keeping that kind of core team together definitely helps as you kind of build upon what Klopp had rolling.
So I got to get your thoughts because I know that you have some potentially volatile thoughts on Fenway Sports Group and what they've done as an ownership group. Would you like for them to sell the team?
Yes. And specifically LeBron to get rid of his stake in the team, but we'll see if that happens.
Is it just that they aren't putting enough financially into the team? Do you think they're distracted with their other ownership interests?
I think it's a combination of both. And when you look at the people in Merseyside, you go on this run with Klopp where you could have easily won the Premier League 3 or 4 times, came just short to City twice by a point. And they just have not done enough. Respect everything they've done with the Anfield Stadium, building up the Anfield Road end. The new main stand have been great renovations to the stadium. But outside of that, they just haven't given him the financial backing in certain windows where Mo Salah is in elite form, Mane is in elite form, and you're just not getting enough guys, specifically in the midfield, to make a Premier League run, while you're also competing in the Champions League in the two English Cup ties.
Yeah, it seems like that midfield specifically the last few years, they've kind of been trying to find the right balance of guys. I think McAllister's a fine player right now. He's been in great form. Szoboszlai, if I'm saying that correctly, I don't
Close
think
enough.
he's been as great as people thought he could be. I've seen a lot of chatter from people I've been following on Twitter that discuss tactics of the game. People love, is it Gravenberch?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about him. I hadn't really seen much until this year, but sounds like he's been having a great start to the year.
He has. We got him from Bayern. Pretty good deal, $35 million, I think. Didn't really thrive under Klopp in the role. I think part of it was he was playing a little higher up. And Arne Slot, Dutch manager, has really helped him transform into kind of a prototypical 6 for the Premier League.
And I know that's what they're missing. I mean, when you guys were going after Caicedo for that number 6 role.
Guy from Lavia, too.
Right, true, good point. Yeah, Chelsea certainly.
The fake here we go.
Did they get a fake here we go for Lavia?
No.
Oh,
Just Caicedo.
was Caicedo a here we go?
Yes.
Man, so that's funny because I brought this up multiple times on the pod about how Fabrizio has only had, 3 or 4 huge false here we goes, all involving Chelsea. Whether it's Chelsea gonna sign somebody, ends up collapsing. Tyler Adams was an example of one of them. Samu Omarodian, who they just almost signed earlier this year. So Caicedo, add that to the list, which I forgot about that one, but it's just funny
One in
how
the
Chelsea's
positive
done
column,
that.
at least.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Yeah, and I mean Fabrizio, as much as I love the guy for his here we go, it's funny that that's the case. But you mentioned a positive about Fenway Sports Group is what they've done at Anfield with the stadium. Didn't even think originally to bring this up, but you've been over there multiple times now across the pond. I know you love going to games. Tell our listeners about how exciting it is, how much fun you've had, the stadiums you've been to.
Yeah, and then I should have added that to why I'm a fan. The first time I went there was in 2016 on a high school senior trip over Thanksgiving, and that's where I really appreciated their fans and just the love that they have for the game. We are blessed with a bunch of sports teams here in America. They don't have those other teams, so it comes down to, like, you live and die the soccer club. That's why on X, their fans are a little bit crazy sometimes, but I've been there 2 other times since. I've been to games at Old Trafford, the Emirates, St. Mary's Stadium. Worst atmosphere of all 3 or 4 stadiums, but they're really special. The fans care a lot. The chants are awesome. No one's on their phones for the most part. You don't get up. Just really appreciate it, and if you have the chance to go there, just definitely see one of these matches. They are great.
Yeah, I will say it sounds like a little bit like Fenway Park with the not getting up, not being on the phone. So a little bit in common there with Fenway Sports Group and the Red Sox. But I certainly agree. I mean, the one time I've been over there, the fans are so passionate, and seeing online as well, they can be nuts. You almost have to take it with a grain of salt with some things they say, because they just can't comprehend, I think, the way we in America think about certain things. Specifically, I'm kind of thinking, now that we're talking about ownership, there's ways they think about their owners and directors that kind of blows my mind, because they almost expect them to be greeting the media and having press conferences every single morning, laying out their plan for the next 5 years and the next 5 minutes about all their decisions, which is just so funny to see because it's so unrealistic. But yeah, it's funny the way they do things over there.
I couldn't imagine if John Henry called into a local sports talk radio show like Jerry Jones did yesterday.
Well, Jerry Jones, I mean, he's a different animal. And it was actually his birthday on Sunday, I saw, and they got stomped by Detroit, which is funny. But back to Liverpool-Chelsea, and we talked about a little bit the form Liverpool's been in, top of the Premier League table, as we mentioned. Who would you say have been some of the other standouts this year so far? We mentioned Gravenberch, but I know Salah's leading the way right now in goal contributions.
I think, offensively, the unit's been really solid. Slot's gotten a lot out of Jota that Klopp just really never did. He's also been hurt a lot during the Klopp era, but I think you got to look at defensively more. We've given up 2 goals in the Premier League in 7 matches, which is just unheard of. I think Arsenal's given up 6 this season. That's a combination of Alisson, who's been phenomenal. Van Dijk is still the top center back in this league. Captain of the squad, very strong. Really liked what Konate has provided this year. I think he's growing as a player and a young kind of leader once Van Dijk kind of steps down. And then Trent Alexander-Arnold, he gets the most hate in the English Twitter space, but he's been really solid this year. So I think those are you kind of just got to look at that back line and this new style of football that they're playing and appreciate that giving up 2 goals is not an easy task.
That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't realize that they've been that stout defensively thus far. So you got to give it to the back line for sure. I think Trent is an incredible player. I mean, I know
his free kick the other day.
Oh, his free kicks are unreal. I mean, I know we joke back and forth between him and Reece. Reece, clearly you can't even talk about because he's never healthy. But Trent, I think maybe he's one of those guys that hasn't done it at that level for England.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why the fans don't love him as much. But I think most people can recognize, for the most part, that he's a great player. What about some guys that maybe have struggled this season a little bit so far? I mean, they're still sitting top of the table, so tough to criticize Envy too much.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see Darwin Nunez develop into the player that I know he can be. He's so fast and talented, he just can't finish. Robertson's had a good year, not a great year. Ever since Mane left, he kind of just lost that chemistry he had on the left wing, and he's just not as fast or as talented as he used to be as he's getting older. And then I'd like to see more out of Szoboszlai too. He's a very solid midfielder, but I think most games he's playing 60, 65 minutes, so would like to see some more out of him.
Yeah, when I was going over notes for this, kind of previewing the match, Nunez hasn't played a ton of minutes, hasn't really scored or assisted much at all. People like to compare him to a Nico Jackson. At times he can't finish in terms of comparing to his expected goals.
Mm-hmm.
Last year he had the game against Chelsea where Liverpool dominates, but Nunez could have had 5 goals. He hit the post 3 or 4 times at least, including one on a penalty, which was insane. So, he's always a guy that can be erratic, I think, but watch out if he finds his form.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
So that's kind of the Liverpool side of things. Coming into this match, off an international break, Liverpool's at the top. Chelsea are at the top in terms of how they've done the last few years, and for me as a fan, currently sitting 4th in the table. I think it's going to be an interesting match. Both teams, as I keep saying, are playing well. You never know with these breaks. I'm not trying to use it as an excuse. I think both teams, could reasonably use that as an excuse, so level playing field there. But it'll just be interesting because you mentioned Liverpool's dominance on the defensive end. Maresca has come in for Chelsea, and he likes to dominate possession. It's a mix whether Chelsea do that in every game they play. Sometimes play just opens up completely. Have Liverpool had any games like that this year where maybe the plan goes to the wayside and it becomes an open game? I'm doubting that they have.
The United game, I think, happened so much better than they expected. It opened up a little bit more, but other than that, they've really been reserved.
And do you think that's more just staying back and being strong on defense? Or I guess you did say they've been going forward less. Do you think they would be keen to let Chelsea have more of the ball than maybe people would expect?
No. I don't think Chelsea will outpossess them at Anfield personally, but you never know. An early goal on either side of that can flip the entire game.
That's true. Yeah, I wouldn't expect Chelsea to either. I think Chelsea will probably look to counter as much as possible. Mm-hmm. That's the way they've been scoring most of their goals. Even when they do control possession, they tend to still do better on the break. Guys like Noni with his speed, getting the ball to Jackson, letting Palmer do his thing. So, yeah, it'll be interesting style-wise what kind of happens there. And it's really the first true big test, I think, for Enzo Maresca at Chelsea because week 1 they play Man City. That's a test, of course, but it's week 1. I don't really look at that as a match that you can prepare for or have your guys ready for.
Tough shoes to step in.
Exactly. Yeah, especially, he's going against his father figure, if you will, in Pep. So, tough scenes for him there. But, yeah, and Chelsea right now, they're entering this stretch that's going to be insanely difficult. A couple easier matches in the Conference League, but with that, there will be travel to random parts of Europe. And then their league run in October is Liverpool, United, Arsenal, and Newcastle. So, going to be very interesting to see what Chelsea can do. In terms of guys missing this match, starting with Chelsea, they will be without 2 key starters on the back line. Cucurella and Fofana are both going to be missing the match. They both have 5 yellow cards in the Prem already. Tops of the league. No other player in the league has 5. Chelsea on pace to smash their record of yellows in one season. So
I think that's the way all officiating's going this season.
yeah, I
And
mean,
look at some of those just absolute garbage, time wasting yellows and reds.
yeah, we could talk about the Arsenal reds they've gotten, which is funny on my end to see, but a little inflated by the fact that Anthony Taylor had the most cards given in any Premier League game in history when Chelsea faced Bournemouth. But
Do we know who the match official is?
we do. I forget who it is. I know Michael Oliver's the VAR.
Oh, great.
I
He's
forget.
actually okay.
I forget who the other guy is. That's actually the.
I
the
feel like if
ref.
it was Anthony Taylor, you would have texted me immediately.
Right. Yeah, I
saying
know
the
it's not
game.
Anthony Taylor. Yeah, because he's already ref too many Chelsea matches this season. But yeah, as I said, those two guys will be missing for Chelsea, and I don't know if it's as big as maybe some people will think. Either way, it's a tough battle against Liverpool. Assuming we'll also be without Reece James. He started back in training, but I don't think it's full training. I also don't think they're gonna rush him back still. We'll see if he ever plays.
I'll take the under on minutes played this season at 180.
180 minutes. That'd be tough. There's reports that I don't believe because it's international break crap, but that his agents are looking at sending him to warmer weather, Spain, Portugal, which just on surface level I understand. But that's just typical international break news, I think, as well. But yeah, that's who's going to be missing for Chelsea. We'll see if guys like Tosin and Renato Vega can fill in admirably. Either way, it's going to be very tough. I mean, imagining a guy like Renato Vega, which, are you even aware of who that player is?
Saw he's in the projected
Okay.
lineup. But
Yeah, I mean he's new this year, and most people probably wouldn't. So he actually just made his debut for the Portuguese national team, which is awesome. But him at left back going against Mo Salah will be quite interesting. So we'll see what happens there. But I saw you listed a couple guys for Liverpool that'll be out. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully they had avoided the injury bug until that Crystal Palace 12:30 kickoff game. Just want to note the unfairness there of total matches played at 12:30. But yeah, Alisson being out looks like he'll be through the November international break, so coming back around Thanksgiving time is definitely a tough one. I still think he is a top 2 keeper in the Prem, possibly the best keeper in the Prem. We've had Kelleher for 6 years now, and he's gotten really good Carabao and FA Cup minutes and's come in when needed, but you just kind of lose that trust in a keeper that you had back there. He's played very well against Chelsea historically, actually.
That's true.
So we'll see if he can keep that up and kind of be a protagonist in their side. But yeah, losing Alisson for a really busy stretch, like you were mentioning, Chelsea has a really busy stretch. We play Champions League game midweek and then Arsenal on the road, so just a very busy. I mean, I think this year is going to be the most packed schedule for any team competing in Europe.
It is for sure.
Prem,
yeah.
So
Yeah, and I saw it looked like McAllister potentially.
Yeah, he
could
came
be
off
out.
early against Palace. Didn't play in Argentina's first international game, but I think he was slated to get some minutes tonight, so we'll see how he comes back and if he comes back healthy. Thankfully, Mo Salah was able to return from break early because the Egypt national team was playing on artificial turf. And
So
their
he
manager
decided-
said if you're playing on artificial turf, you can elect not to play. Kind of
Interesting.
The messy dilemma we have here in the MLS.
Yeah. Oh, they were playing in the United States.
No, but
Oh.
Messi won't play on artificial turf fields.
Messi the player. I
Yeah.
thought you were just saying it's a Messi.
No.
Okay, makes sense. Did you see what happened with the Nigerian national team?
Yeah, they got stuck.
Well, it sounds like they got stuck purposefully by Lebanon, basically, but I don't even want to get into that necessarily. But a lot of interesting
Geopolitical
things.
conflict.
Yeah, a lot of things can happen over the break, that's for sure. All right, so we've kind of laid the groundwork here for the match Sunday at Anfield. I know you'll be out of pocket a little bit. What's your official prediction for the match?
I'm gonna go Liverpool 2, Chelsea 0. Salah penalty, and give me a Jota tap-in.
Interesting. Okay, I could see both those goals happening. I think Jota's been great. I think he's actually been one of the more solid goal scorers this year in the Prem. Salah, as I mentioned, going against Vega on that right wing, I could easily see him getting a pen, maybe even just getting a second goal by himself. My prediction's Liverpool 2, Chelsea 1. I just think it's going to be too tough for Chelsea. They're doing well under Maresca, building a team. I think Liverpool's just been together too long, and even with Slot as the coach, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. And it's tough to win at Anfield, so I don't think Chelsea fans should even be upset at a loss.
I think this match will have, Liverpool specifically, pretty big implications on your season and this next stretch of 4 weeks without Alisson. If you cannot, a draw wouldn't kill you, but if you go out and drop this game midweek, you got a Champions League game, then you drop another game to Arsenal, you're kind of looking for answers.
That's a good point. Especially getting into some of these Champions League games, they've had 2 games out of 8 in this new group league phase thing they're doing. Have they won both?
Yep.
So looking ahead then, what would be your prediction on how they do in the Champions League and even how they finish in the Premier League?
I still think top 3 is pretty reasonable in the Premier League. I think at the end of the day, you're going to have to make a decision, especially if the squad gets limited. Do you really go all out in the domestic cups? Champions League and the Premier League are obviously high priority, but if you're short guys in January, do you send out the B team in an FA Cup game?
Yeah, if you're Chelsea, you just already have 2 squads of 11 guys, but... Yeah. You know who Liverpool plays in their next Carabao Cup game?
I think it's Brighton.
Okay. Yeah, Chelsea have a really interesting back-to-back matches against Newcastle. They play them on a Sunday in the Prem, and then the following Wednesday in the Carabao Cup.
Both at the same stadium?
One is at the Bridge. One is up at what's their stadium called?
St. James Park.
St. James Park, right. So... and obviously some travel with that up north. But, yeah, that'll be interesting for Liverpool and Slot and the guys to decide what they want to prioritize. I think those Carabao Cup games, you obviously just kind of throw your guys out there. If you win them, you win them. FA Cup, you can even probably do a little bit of the same, at least at the start of it.
FA Cup means more. It just does.
For sure. But still, it's not a Champions League.
Yeah, it's nothing like that. And with this new Champions League format, who knows how it's going to shake out?
Yeah, it's been interesting so far. I think there's no perfect way to do it. I don't know. Do you have thoughts on what's better between the old format and the new?
I like the old format a little better just because it was a lot easier to track, because you kind of knew where everyone was at in their group. Right now we have a table of every team, and it's like, whoa, okay, I guess we have 6 points and we're in 4th right now, I think, but who knows what that'll look like in 3 weeks. So
yeah, that's a good point. So we'll see what happens there. I think Liverpool's gonna maintain their strong season. Hopefully Chelsea can at least get a point this weekend. We'll see what happens, but either way, it'll be an exciting match, and maybe we'll touch base here after the match. I'm sure we'll be watching games at Red Lion together. So
yeah, maybe we can get a post-match reactions.
We'd love to get a little video from you, even if it's in the car on your way home. So appreciate you coming on, and hopefully it's an exciting match on Sunday.
Agreed. Thanks for having me.